I'm not going to share everything. Typically, I have shared everything, but the important stuff I'll cut out and share that in a video. Um, Typically, I go to campus on Wednesday so that I can upload video because uploading it here through this awful internet connection is impossible. So I go there to do that once a week. All right, so what was I doing? All right. So this is your Moodle class, as you all know, right? And you all figured this out apparently, but when you go here, I added classroom collaboration into my WebEx thing, and now it's the default tab when you get here. So you need to go to virtual meetings, and then click on the meeting that you're going to, which you've all figured that out because you're sitting here right now, right? So you're good. All right. All right, so that's how you get to these meetings. This will happen every Monday at 9 o'clock. So start here. We were required to go over the syllabus. What was that? I couldn't hear whatever that was. All right. I can hear you now, I hope. All right, so you can hear me. All right. All right, where was that? Introductions. You should do. Has everybody taken the attendance quiz? If not, you have to take that like immediately, right? Let's get a start here. It is due the 19th. So you have a week, 8 days from now, but don't wait till the last day. And make sure you take it in every class. Every class. Yes, it's that 5. I don't change it. It's a standard thing, so that the questions are the same every time. It's just a digital way of raising your hand and saying I've entered the class, right? So just do it immediately. You can do it right now while I'm talking to you if you haven't done it already. But you have to do it because if you don't do it, we're forced to remove you from the class. But anyway, all right. So here's the syllabus. It's on the first start here page, right? All right. So SGD 113. Credit hours 3. I'm the instructor. That is my office, although that's irrelevant right now in COVID because you won't be going there, right? You can call this number, and it does redirect to my cell phone number now. So I hate phone calls, so I prefer you email me right here. Also, Google has a chat feature. If you want to chat with me, if it's an issue where it's going to be a back and forth thing, I prefer doing the chat rather than a bunch of email chains, right? So, but you can access that directly through your Gmail account in MyPit. Also, always email me from your MyPit address. That is Pit policy, right? So please do that. The course description is the state. We have to put the state description in here. It doesn't always describe exactly what we do in our classes, but this course introduces the fundamentals of programming languages and tools employed in simulation game development. Emphasis placed on programming concepts used to create simulations in game. Upon completion, students should be able to program simple games and or simulations. That's fairly close to true, right? We focus on Unity 3D, and C#. So, in fact, in the notes, right? Unity 3D and C#. Has everybody installed Unity? Has everybody used Unity before? Last semester. I mean, if you took my 111, then you should have, right? But some people enter in the spring and they don't, right? Yes, and it hates my guts. I have it installed. All right. Well, if it hates your guts, you'll have to figure out a way of coming to terms with it because you're kind of stuck with it for the next 2 years if you stick in this program, right? Yep, I had to in a previous class. That's good. All right. So this week's assignment shouldn't be hard at all for any of you, right? We're not really going to get into programming. It's more of a opening Unity and making sure you know how to build a Webgl project and upload that. So that shouldn't be a big issue, right? So let's back to the syllabus, make sure we've done that, right? So the textbook is this Learning C# 7 by Developing Games with Unity 2017. Not sure, does everybody have that yet? I have a digital copy of it. So if you don't have this book, get it as soon as you can, right? Because we will start using it. I'm getting the book today after school. Good. It's a good book. When I first started teaching this class, I struggled finding the right book. But this book, for the most part, teaches programming the way I like to teach it. So it's worthwhile getting, and we will use the book. So don't email me. Don't email me and ask me, will we ever use this book? We'll be using it weekly, pretty much straight through the semester, right? I will have assignments that are outside the book, but for the most part, we kind of follow along through the book, and then I have assignments that kind of reinforce that, right? I did the textbook lookup and nothing showed up for this class. I'm not sure how to get it. I tried calling, but no one answered. Let's see. You can always that's what it looks like. So it's very underwhelming. All right. So that's the book. You need that as soon as possible. If you're having troubles getting it, let me know. You can go on PacketPub and get a totally digital copy of it, right? But we'll see if that's necessary. Supplemental resources. These aren't as essential now because we're doing this virtual thing. If you were in the lab, I definitely require you to have a flash drive that you store your projects on. As far as that goes, right, even if you're not, I've had some people that in my 212 class, and I don't know if any of you, this applies to any of you at all, but that said they didn't have their work from 212 or 112 because it was on like their MacBook Air that they turned back in. That's not really I'm letting you get by with that excuse because you're all beginning in this field, right? But if you gave your employer that excuse, you get fired, right? So projects you should keep in multiple places, right? So they should never be stored on just one computer, especially major projects, right? If you do that in the industry and you lose all your work, it's not going to go well for you, right? So the time to learn not to do that is right now, right? So in the future, copy your projects from one computer onto a flash drive or an external hard drive or on the Google Drive, right? Especially if you have fast internet, there's no reason not to zip up your project, drop it on Google Drive, especially your school drive while you're here because there's unlimited space there. I don't know if you knew that or not, but so just zip up your projects, drop them in Google Drive, and then they're there when you need them. Right. Attendance policy. I do take attendance during this class, and I expect you to be here as much as possible. If you're swimming along very well and you're getting all your work done and you understand what's going on and you miss one of these synchronous things, I'm not going to be too upset, right? Especially if you email me and tell me why you can't be there and your reason, whatnot. But if you're struggling and you're not turning in assignments, that to me says you need to ask questions and you have some issues, then you need to be in these classes so that you can ask those questions and we can get your issues sorted out. All right. That clear? Should be. As in all these courses, you can take the course 3 times total, including audits. After the 3rd attempt, you're ineligible to take it again. So you're kind of screwed. So don't do that. All right. Academic integrity policy. Don't cheat. Right. If I catch you cheating, then you'll first receive an F in this course, right? And you'll get a 0 for that. The second offense, you get an immediate F, and you can be expelled from the school, right? So don't do that. I don't expect you to do that. You're just cheating yourself, really. As I tell all my students, getting this degree in game development really doesn't mean a whole lot to the industry. It only means something if you learn something while you're here, right? So if you don't learn anything, then you've wasted your time and your money. And so cheating obviously doesn't do anything for you because you didn't learn anything if you cheat. All right. Grading policy, assignments are half the grade, right? So all the stuff you do in here is half the grade. Then there's projects near the end, which is 40% of your grade, and quizzes, exams, which there are very few of, are 10%. Most of my classes are project-based, hands-on, kind of get it done kind of stuff, so I don't do a lot of quizzes and exams. All right. Somebody join us. All right. There's a tutorial and academic success center. I'm not sure exactly how that works right now, but if you have some issues, and this is more for gen ed stuff, because if you need help with programming, you need to come to ask me anyway, because they're not going to help you with the stuff in this class. But by all means, call that number if you're having issues with your English or your math or whatever. Right? There's the success coaches. Still don't know exactly what they do. If somebody wants to use them and get back to me and tell me, that'd be awesome. Disability services. This is important. If you have a disability and you need accommodations, you have to go to disability services, and they have to send me a letter telling me that you need special accommodations. Otherwise, I can't legally give you any special accommodations. All right. Network acceptable use policy. You're at home. Use your network however you and your parents have said you can. Right. Drug and alcohol policy. Again, you're at home. I would suggest not getting inebriated before we have class, but I'm not talking to you. I can't see you, so what? Anyway, there are computer labs. I don't know if these hours are correct under COVID, so that's an interesting thing, right? All right, so let's see. There are book resources. I don't know if these are current or not. I haven't updated them. If you go to Packet Pub, you can download all the book resources. I will be supplying them soon in different forms, right? I'll split them up. But there are things that you can download for the book that you'll need later on. Honestly, you don't need them. Early on, there's not a ton of use for them. But when we get about halfway through the book, they become relevant. All right. I didn't get to the Unity thing, and it's almost 9:30. Let's see. Where are we at? If you have problems installing Unity 3D, let me know. All right. Asking for help. When you send me an email, right? An email subject, right? Should always have class name, right? And assignment name. You can copy and paste that directly from the assignment. That'd be great. So in other words, be like this, right? Subject, SGD 113, hello world, help please, or something, right? And then, your body, whatever you want to say, right? Why do I ask you to do this? Because I'm teaching 5 different classes, and some students are in multiple classes, 2 or 3 at the same time, right? And emailing me and saying, "Hey, I'm in your class. Can you help me?" doesn't tell me anything, right? So, tell me what class you're in and what your issue is, right? And this goes for if you're not going to be in class, right? Say I'm going to miss class, but I guarantee you some of you are in 113 and 212. Let me know. It's SGD 113 I'm going to miss or 212, right? So, all right. Second, if you need help with code, always do one of 2 things or both. What is going on? Oh man! See how it's reconnecting up there? And I use Unity Hub, which you should as well. Unity Hub allows you to install multiple versions of Unity. And that's good because sometimes you'll start a project and that project might take you a year or so to create, right? And you don't want to change versions midstream usually, right? Most development companies will version lock their development so that weird things don't happen when you switch versions of Unity, because sometimes versions of Unity get buggy, right? You try a new version and it won't work like you expect it to, and that's a bad thing, right? So I'm going to say new, right? And I am using 2019.49F1 currently. It's one of the long-term releases, and I suggest always using one of the long-term support releases, right? I'm just going to make this 2D because I'm not doing anything magnificent here, and I'm going to always name your project last name underscore first initial underscore and then the name of the assignment. In this case, it's Hello World, right? And if you know anything about programming, Hello World was the first program ever written, right? And so that whenever you start a new programming language, a new environment, just to make sure that you can compile in that environment and create something, most programmers will create a Hello World thing, and it's the most basic thing you can do to show that you can create something in this environment. So that's what we're doing here. All right, so where are we going? Spring 21. And always create a folder for your class. I create folder. You'll see over here I've got classes for all my different. Every semester I have a folder for, right? So, and inside the semester folder, create a folder for each class you have. So this is SGD 113. And then I create folders for each assignment. And this is week 1, so I say 01. I say Hello World, right? That. Right. File management is a hugely important thing when it comes to programming, so try to be wise about how you organize your files, right? So I select that folder, got it named correctly, then I can create it. And this will take a second. Not that you can see it anyway. Is the lag still 8 minutes? I think it's frozen. Wow. Well, you'll see. It'll be in the video. I don't know what to do about it. I mean, I can't. I mean, I could restart my router right now, but that would bring everything to a halt, right? I don't think the screen recorder is causing it. That's just recording my screen. That's not network. It has nothing to do with the network. It has more to do with this trying to connect thing. My ping is just awful. And I restarted my modem before we did this, and my ping was still like 111. Okay, 9:30, so 10 minutes behind now. Unity's still working, so sorry about the lag. I don't know what I can do about that other than you drag the cable lines down half a mile up the road. The cable ends up at 102, about a half mile north of here, and one of these days I think they'll extend them further down south, but right now I'm just out of luck. Anybody else live in the country dealing with this? All right, well, on my screen I have Unity open, right? So I'm in Greenville because of this. Yeah. My daughter's about to move out, and she'll have high-speed internet there. I might have to go. I'll go teach my classes from her house. 9:30. Oh, we're only 5 minutes back now. Awesome. All right, so here's Unity. I think you've all used it before. Yeah, actual hybrid would be nice. Yep, that's what I used to do all the time. I like actually seeing my students. It's kind of a good thing. Being stuck at home all the time just thoroughly depressing. All right, so here we go. All we have to do for this hello world is we're going to create a text object in the middle of the screen that says hello world, and then we're going to build it for Webgl. Right? Can't say how much I hate doing online classes. I'd do better in school if COVID wasn't a thing. Yes, I understand. All my students would agree with you. I've had very few that wanted to do online classes. Most of my students thrive better in the face-to-face environment, and it's just... All right, so Jacob, pretty much the opposite, never left the house to begin with. My son's named Jacob, and he's kind of the same way, so that's funny. Anyway, so here we are in Unity. We're going to create a game object menu, UI text. All right. Then we're going to focus on that. It's there, right? And you'll see it over here in your game window. And it always, they give it to you gray is by default. And by default, the background color's blue for some stupid reason, right? So that's not a good contrast. And when you take 212, you'll learn all about the need for contrast, right? So what we're going to do first is make sure your text is selected over here in the hierarchy. I'm going to go to the widget. I'm going to hold down Option, which actually will also sets position, right? And then it goes to the center, right? 2 minutes behind. All right, that's cool. Well, you should be able to see some of this soon, right? So now you'll see it's kind of in the center, but we can come here to the alignment and center in both vertical and horizontal aspects. Now it's directly in the center. Now we want to fix the contrast issue, right? First thing I'm going to do is change the color of this text, which is right there, right? And it'll give you this little widget I'm going to make it a bright yellow, right? Like that. And now I'm going to change the size, and you'll notice when I change the size that it's going to appear to disappear, right? So, and you'll see that in a few minutes, I assume, right? But it didn't really disappear. What happened is, if you look over here, see this box? That box is the limit of how much text can be shown in the text box, right? So if you stretch this box, let's see what happens. If the box is large enough, the text is there, right? So you can either change the size of the box, or the other solution is to come over here in the inspector, and where it says horizontal overflow, say overflow, and then vertical overflow, overflow. What that does is allow the text, despite the box being too small, the text will still show up. So at this point, I could squeeze the box whatever size I want to, and the text will still be there. There are reasons to have it truncated like that in certain cases, right? In this case, because it's such a simple little thing we're doing, we're going to do overflow. And for most of the stuff we do in this class, that's probably what you want to do, right? Because we're not doing anything. This class, 113, is not about making a beautiful game, right? This class is about teaching you the basics of programming, right? And I intentionally don't do any visual bells and whistles because of that, right? So I wanted you to focus on just learning how to program. All right, so we're almost out of time, so I need to get this done. All right, so just now it says new text. That's the default. Come in here where it says text in the inspector and just say hello world. And if you want to say something clever, as long as it's not offensive, you can put something else there, right? Doesn't matter to me. I like a good laugh, right? So just don't make it offensive, and we're all right. All right. So hello world, that's cool. If you want to, you can come to the main camera and change the background color, which I usually like to do too, right? So come here and we make it dark like that. All right. All right, so that's really all we have to do. Now we just have to build it, right? And then we're done. So I'm going to move that out of the way. To build a project, you just go to File, Build Settings, right? In Build Settings, you always have to have at least one scene. And the easiest thing to do, if you just have one scene, is say Add Open Scenes, and it's there. If you have multiple scenes, you can come into the project and drag them in from the project panel. All right. So you can drag them in from here as well, right? But we're not worried about that right now. So from here, you want to go to Webgl, right? Oh, no. All right. How's that possible? All right. I don't know how that happened. But apparently, I do not have the Webgl plug-in for this version of Unity, and I don't know. Didn't see that coming. All right. So I'm going to build a standalone because that's where I'm at right now. And that's not what I wanted to do. But Webgl is more cross-platform, so I always prefer that. If you have to build a standalone, please build a Mac standalone because I'm on a Mac, right? And that is going to work better for me. So I'm going to do a standalone right now because to download and install the Webgl plugin will not suffice us, right? So I'm going to say build. What am I missing here? I've only had a Webgl build not go wrong once. Sometimes they get buggy, and I'm not sure why some people have more problems with them than others, right? 3D project's fine. In this case, there's not much difference. Really, the only difference between 3D and 2D is how, by default, what your camera does, right? So if you do 2D, it's automatically going to focus kind of like the UI is at the center of the world, whereas 3D it doesn't do that. It kind of focuses on 0, 0, 0, the origin, and it affects how you if you import 2D objects. If you start with a 2D project and you import sprites, or if you import 2D images, it automatically imports them as sprites, whereas opposed to if you're in a 3D project, it doesn't do that. So that's the main difference. All right, so enough of that. Right, so when you build whatever platform you build for, I always create at this level here, the same level where you see the assets folder. Inside your project folder, I create a new folder called builds. Very creative, right? And then on a Mac, you just name it, right? And I'm gonna say Bivens _T hello world. Right? Now, if this is a WebGL on a Mac, it creates a folder for you, right? If you're on PC, if you're on a Windows machine, listen here. I know some of you will not, but anyway, at this point, you want to create one more folder if you're on a PC and name it whatever you're naming this right here, right? Because it doesn't automatically create a folder for you, which I don't understand why it's different that way, but it is. And I will have to re-say that again, because if you don't do that, it'll create a folder called build, and that's not what you want. Or actually, it puts it in your builds folder. Your build would be called builds, right? Which is kind of weird. But anyway, I'm gonna save it now, and then it'll start building it, and then that'll be pretty much everything for today, right? Are there any questions that you can think of right now? Thing is, we're about out of time. If you're in 212, remember, not that I know, all right. If you're in 212 tomorrow, that is at 11 o'clock, right? That's where, so, and there you go, it's running. There's, and it's minuscule, but it is running. All right, so I don't know why it didn't come up with the options when it ran, right? Usually it does. All right, so at that point, one thing when you have this, if you create a Mac standalone, because Mac applications are actually hidden zip folders themselves, right? It looks like a single file, but it's actually a folder. Create a folder, which let's name the same thing, right? Like that. And then stick the application in here, like that. And then zip that up. I compress, right? What that does is it makes it not weird when it gets to me, right? And then upload that zip. And that way when I unzip it, your application is there. If you send it directly, it like unzips it, and then Mac does kind of weird things with it. So if you can remember that step, that will be awesome. All right. I don't have a question, but since I think I need the book for the Hello World assignment, you don't need the book for the Hello World assignment. You don't. You just do what I just did there. That wasn't in the book. So. And this video will be posted Wednesday, hopefully Wednesday morning, and I'll let you know when that's done. But it is really pretty. It's a really simple process, but and I'll try to outline the steps in the notes document here in a minute. But I was kind of busy doing it, so I wasn't taking notes at the same time. That clear? I'm gonna stop recording now.